Berndsen. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We're really excited to have you here for this webinar. My name is Samantha Fisher. I'm the head of marketing and recruiting here at Harrity. I'm joined by my colleague and head of Harrity Analytics, Rocky Berndsen. Rocky and his team of data analysts specialize in mining, cleaning, and analyzing patent prosecution data and transforming it into really valuable insights that are focused on business strategy. By creating these really cool dynamic reports like the ones found in our interactive Patent 300 dashboard, users can easily find information that they need to make more intelligent decisions regarding business items, things like portfolio management, competitive intelligence, budgeting, filing strategy, building partnerships, and managing outside counsel relationships. So today, Rocky's going to focus on one of these. He'll be demonstrating how companies and law firms use our Patent 300 dashboard for competitive intelligence and patent practice decision-making. After his demo, we'll invite you guys to ask questions using either the chat or Q&A function. You can see both of them in the bottom of the panel here. We're happy to stay on as long as needed to get every question answered. So feel free to hang around with us. You can hear everyone else's questions. We'll read them out loud and then kind of go through if there's anything specific you want to see Rocky do in the dashboard, just send in a chat there and we'll be able to do that. And if you need to hop off early, you can always send questions to Rocky directly at rberndsen@harrityllp.com. So again, we thank you so much for taking some time out of your afternoon to join us today. And I will go ahead and pass it over to Rocky.
All right, thanks, Samantha, and thank you everybody for joining today's webinar. I hope you're going to find it interesting to see how you can use analytics for competitive intel and practice decision making. We're going to focus today's demonstration here on our Patent 300 dashboard. That's what I'll be using today. There's a lot of information and intelligence here. My hope is that, over the next 30 to 40 minutes or so, I'm going to kind of share a lot of things with you guys. So if you have any questions, I won't be able to cover everything, but if you have some questions, use the Q&A function there to submit some questions. I would love to answer those things directly. So let me go ahead and pull up our Patent 300 dashboard. Let me switch here to this. And we are going to go back to this. All right. So I want to make sure everybody can see my screen. I'm assuming that's going to be the case. If anybody can't see the screen, please let us know. So the Patent 300 dashboard is a tool that we created to view what's happening in the United States as far as patents go at a high level. This is not a search tool. This is not a tool to use to search patents and do a technology search. This is a dashboard tool that gives you the ability to see at a high level everything that's happening. Okay, and we're going to talk about a number of different data points here. We have some technology data points. You'll see some examples of that here on the left. We have company information, and then we have law firm information as well. And I guess before we start diving into this, the data set that we're looking at is US utility patents. We pull this information from the US PTO directly. It's refreshed weekly. You see here a refresh date of today because we had patents that issued today. And our current data set goes back to 2005. Okay. And you'll notice as I go through the pages of the dashboard, really I'm most of the time just going to be using my mouse. I'll be hovering over some things, clicking on some things here. The most advanced thing I might do is do a click here on my mouse and then hold the control button so that I can click something else and multi-select. Okay. And so what this page here of the Patent 300 dashboard gives you the ability to do is it's an overview of companies that are obtaining patents. And so what I've done here is I've selected the two largest areas at the USPTO, electrical circuits and systems, semiconductors, memory, and I can filter the companies down to those that are obtaining patents in those technology areas. And so here I have my list of companies. You might ask, okay, what does this company name mean? We normalize company information so that we have an ultimate parent company name. We have the subsidiaries for those companies tucked underneath. And we have both machine learning algorithms as well as manual review processes every week that review the subsidiaries, spelling, fuzzy matching, to make sure that we are attributing all the patents appropriately to both the companies and the law firms. You'll notice here, as I scroll over here to the right, you'll see a whole host of patent prosecution metrics. So we can see here at a glance, in these top two areas, the average for 2020 office actions per patent was 1.3. Average RCEs per patent, 0.3. We have dependencies, we have interview statistics, we have extensions per office action, we have pre-appeal statistics, appeal brief statistics, board decision success rate, and AFCP usage. You'll notice these stats here. These are high level. When we look at some subsequent pages, we'll be able to dive in deeper into the actual counts behind some of those metrics and see a bit more information. You'll also notice with these metrics, the use of color. We use color throughout the report to help users to easily identify outliers in the data, highs and lows. Green being good data points, for instance, red being not good, and yellow in between, right? And so we can see here as we look through this, right, if I'm Taiwan Semiconductor and I'm looking at my statistics, I can see a couple of metrics, high-level metrics here that might give me pause. Extensions per office action, 11% of our office actions have an extension of time associated with it. There's a cost associated with that. This might be an area where I want to focus my attention in understanding what are we doing in our practice? Is this something that we are causing at our company, or is this an issue with some of our law firms, right? And so these metrics and the use of color give you the ability to quickly identify some areas potentially of focus for decision making in the practice. You'll notice up here we have some more filters, cons and divs, so you can filter out continuations, for instance. You might want to look at, hey, we just want to look at originally filed applications. And now we can see, okay, there's been a little change in the leadership, number 1 and 2 here. And we can see the metrics just for those non-con or div cases, as well as track 1. You can filter this data down by text center, art unit description. So you have an actual textual description of some of these if you're not familiar with the numbers themselves. On the left-hand side here, we have some USPTO art unit groups. So that's a high-level tech area, groups of art units, as well as CPC classification as well. So we can dive in here and just, I want to look at the static store space and see who's patenting in static stores. And very quickly and easily, I can see, at least in 2020 here, who's obtained patents in that space. Okay. As well, tucked in over here, there's a whole host of additional filters that can be used throughout the report to drill down into exactly what it is that you're looking for. Okay, so this is our high-level overview page. And you'll see down here on the bottom, we've got a number of different pages that we'll hit as we go through this report. Okay, so I'm going to come here now to the company competitive analysis. Okay, and so what this page gives you the ability to do is select a company. Here I've selected IBM. You can come in here and search for companies. I want to show you guys how you can see who the assignees under IBM would be. And so here we can see a list of, here's Instana, a company that they recently just purchased. You can see the various misspellings of International Business Machines. We see the Red Hat soft layer acquisitions included as well. So this gives you the ability to see who some of those companies are underneath. And you could also filter down. If you just wanted to look at a particular subsidiary of a company, you could use this for those purposes. So here I'm looking at IBM, and I can see in 2020, overall rank is 1, 30% of the patents obtained were cons and divs, the overall pendency, and obviously the total number of patents. On the left-hand side here, you'll see a breakdown of the CPC subclasses, and if I hover over them, I can see the description. Here we have electrical digital data processing, transmission of digital information, so on and so forth. So you can select, let's take a look here at the transmission of digital information, their second largest area for patenting. And when I click on that, now I can see IBM is still ranked number 1. They got the most patents last year in this space, right? Still around the same number of cons and divs. We see here below this a breakdown of where those patents fell as far as the USPTO goes, the different art unit groups. And again, if I hover over those, you'll see descriptions for those. And now I'm IBM, I can see, okay, who are we actually competing against from a patent perspective in this technology area, right? And I can also benchmark my statistics with those of that technology field. So we can see that, hey, okay, right, here's our office actions per patent, RCEs per patent. We're kind of in the middle range. There's some that are a lot higher, Amazon, Samsung, Qualcomm. There's some that are a lot lower. These are the types of data points that can help companies understand how they're performing from a patent prosecution perspective, and help them understand if there are some things that they could potentially be making, some decisions that they could be making with their practice to either become more efficient. Maybe they want to be actually fighting tooth and nail for patents. So they may want to expect their office actions per patent to be higher based on what a competitor might be doing. They may want to look at to see, okay, what's the usage of interviews in the practice? We're using it about 28.7% of the time. Huawei is barely using it. Some others using it twice as much as we are. Is there something here in our practice that we should be considering doing? So you'll notice a whole host of additional metrics here when you start looking at a competitive analysis. We have interview usage. We have the total extensions here. You can see more details on the pre-appeal success rates, okay? The appeal brief success rates, the board decision success rates, AFCP usage. This is a way, say, for companies who maybe have a guideline that states that we want our firms using AFCP 100% of the time when there's a final rejection. Okay, here's a way to monitor to determine, are the firms following the guidelines? Yeah, or is this a process that we should institute based on what some other competitors are doing? Yeah. Average number of claims, right? So you can see the average number of claims we're getting on the patents and dependency. So there's additional metrics here when we start looking at a competitive intelligence look. Okay, and again, we have a lot of the same types of selections that can be made here. So this here gives you the ability to filter information from a technology perspective to see who are the other companies that are actually obtaining patents in the same space, right? If I want to look at the cryptography security technology area, the click of a button, I can easily determine who else is patenting in this space, and it can provide you as in-house counsel with a starting point for, okay, how do we want to further explore this information? Obviously, law firms use this information to provide it to their clients. A lot of companies need help understanding, hey, we've got thousands of patents that we're getting every year. Where are we patenting things? How does that compare to other companies in our spaces? What are our competitors patenting in? These are the types of things that law firms might use this information for, to advise their clients or to share this information with prospective clients. So this is our company competitive analysis. Again, high-level view from a technology perspective, drilling down into who's actually patenting in the same spaces as us. Now I'm going to look at company by technology. So this is more of a very focused look on one specific company, right? So now I can look at IBM's 9,000 plus patents. We have here, these are the patents issued last year. We start at a high level, USPTO Art Unit Group. We then go to a subclass description here, and then all the way deep down into a subgroup description. And this gives you the ability to look at and splice and dice a company's portfolio to see, where are they patenting? Okay, so if I'm heavy in the cryptography security space, I want to know what IBM is doing. I can select, okay, hey, here are the cases that were at least examined in this technology area, cryptography and security. Quickly, I can see there's two main areas where they're classified from a CPC subclass. And then here I can see all of the various subgroup descriptions for these 645 patents. The dashboard gives you the ability then to click on this here. You can export this information into a spreadsheet or a CSV, and you get a full list of all of the app numbers, the patent numbers, all of the underlying data behind this. You can easily, with the click of a button, just export this out of the tool. Okay. Yeah, again, I mentioned before, you may want to be able to multi-select, right? So I can come in here and look at semiconductors. I'm interested in, this high-level semiconductor technology area. Whoops, let me click on this again here. And if I multi-select, I hit Control, and I can just look at this one specific slice of their portfolio, these 1,100 patents, and see what the technology breakdowns are for those cases from a CPC perspective. Okay, that's company by technology. Next page here is our company by law firm. This gives in-house counsel as well as law firm partners and admins the ability to benchmark the performance of law firms for a particular company. And so I've got IBM selected here, and we can see a list of here in 2020, here are all of the law firms that obtained patents for IBM. You'll notice this one here on the top, no law firm listed. IBM has their own internal patent group, so they do have a large number of patents where they are prosecuting themselves internally, and so there's no law firm listed on the face of the patent, and that's how this gets designated here. And you can now benchmark the performance of your law firms, apples to apples, using technologies, using cons and divs as filters, and you can identify if there's some areas of your practice where maybe there are some firms whose stats are higher than others. This can help you to determine who you should be sending the next marginal case to from an efficiency perspective. This can help you to understand maybe how the law firms are practicing right? Office actions per patent here, pretty low, 1.5 for this firm. Have a very low interview usage. This may indicate to you how the law firm is practicing, and could help the company to understand, okay, are there some guideline recommendations here we can make? Is there something that this firm is doing that we like and we want the other firms to start following the same type of practice? Is there something about the technology area or the business unit that this law firm is practicing in that lends itself well to this type of an approach? So this gives, a company a lot of data points on how to manage their law firm's performance and practice more effectively. You'll see here, right, extensions per office action generally pretty low. Boom, here's a screaming red number. This would be an opportunity for IBM to speak to outside counsel. If I'm outside counsel here, I want to know if this is my number. I want to know why is this happening? If it's our issue, it needs to be corrected right away. These are the types of things that this dashboard is very powerful for, providing this level of information to companies and law firms to help them understand actually what is happening in the practice. And you'll notice as we scroll through, we have all of these various data points throughout to help people get a real deep dive look into what is happening in the practice. Okay. Next page we have here is our company by costs. This is I think a very powerful page. This gives companies the ability to understand where the costs are in their patent portfolio. And it lends itself to a little bit of explanation here. You'll notice this whole section here, customize your costs. So if I'm IBM, I'm going to come in here and select what we pay outside counsel. And I don't know what IBM pays. Let's just imagine they pay $10,000 for the filing fee, and they pay, $1,100 for the con div filing, and they pay $2,000 for a response, and they pay $300 for an examiner interview. And what this report will do is it will take the actual prosecution history of these patents, apply the fees accordingly, as well as the government filing fees to determine all of the costs. And so you can see where the costs are, right? 66 million in new app filing fees for this part of for these 2020 patents that we obtained. You can see the average cost per patent. So this gives you the ability to benchmark the relative costs of your firms doing your work to see, hey, is there something that we should be, who should we be sending work to? Where does the next marginal case go? It could, right? You have some firms much higher metric than others. And again, this gives you the ability to really kind of understand how these prosecution stats, like office actions per patent and RCEs per patent, drive the cost basis for managing your portfolio. Right? If I'm a law firm, I want to know what my metric is. I want to know how are we doing here. Right? If my metric is low, this might be a way for me to go to my client to say, hey, the average cost per patent for your work that you sent to us is less than other firms. We can take on more work, so we'd encourage you based on these metrics here to send us more. These are the types of things that law firms will use to advise their clients from a cost basis perspective on where they can be allocating budget more effectively. So that's our company by costs page. Company trends. High level view over time of who has been doing the work for IBM, right? We can see the patents issued over time, the percentage of cons and divs. I can see, some firms increase in work down to a decrease, right? I can see new firms, old firms, right? This gives in-house counsel the ability to see, the history and volumes for their firms and what work they've been doing for them. It gives law firms the ability to see the same thing. Who's been doing the work? Have new firms been brought on? Are firms being let go? Provides some patent trends over time for a particular company. And obviously you can then break down this information here by art unit groups and any of the other filters that you have in here. So we've talked a lot about patent prosecution related metrics. Now we're going to look at what we call our portfolio gap analysis. This here is a way for, I've selected two companies, IBM and Microsoft. Gives me the ability at the click of a button to compare their two patent portfolios side by side from a CPC perspective, right? And so I can look at, in 2020, I've selected both of these companies. I want to look at a glance, I can see obviously here, IBM heavy in semiconductors, Microsoft barely any. Here's an area where both companies are patenting around the same amount. If I click on this here, I can quickly and easily see the two portfolios side by side to see that, okay, right, Microsoft's got 16 patents here in 3D image editing, whereas IBM only has one. So very quickly, I can see the two portfolios side by side, see the strengths, see the weaknesses. If I'm IBM, I want to know, right? Are we falling behind in patenting in this area? Is this an area here, editing of 3D images? Is this an area that's important to us? If it is, we have some competitors that are patenting a lot more, something for us to pay attention to. If I'm, Microsoft, vice versa, right? I want to know exactly the same thing. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Our clients use this information to look at portfolio side by side for licensing purposes, pre-litigation analysis, mergers and acquisitions analysis, very quickly and easily selecting two companies and visualizing their two portfolios to see how they stack up. So the gap analysis is a valuable insight, and the ease with which you can easily just click on a particular area here, the static store space. Okay, let's go optical elements, and boom, I can see here's our two portfolios side by side, kind of all over the place here for IBM, heavily weighted here for Microsoft in this one CPC area. And that is our gap analysis page. Now let's take a look at things from a different perspective. Now what we've got here is our law firm view, okay? So now we can essentially see a lot of the same information we were looking at before for companies, but we can view them from a law firm perspective. So we can see who the law firms are that are obtaining patents in the United States. Okay, if I am the strengths for my firm, for instance, let's say they are in printing, measuring, and testing, I can click on this space to see who else is patenting, who am I really competing against for clients in this space, right? And so here I can see the top three: Venable, Oblong, Harness, Dickey, Pierce, right? I can benchmark myself against competitors in this same area to show what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. We can filter all this information again by art units and cons and divs or track one. So this gives you a bird's eye view of, right, the cryptography security space. I want to see who's obtaining patents here. What do our metrics look like, right? Quickly we can see right away, hey, there's some firms who have some high metrics, some that have some low metrics. Where do we stack up? Do we have some competitive advantage from a law firm perspective in going after more work in this space? If you're a company, And this is an area where you're trying to find some new firms with experience in this technology area. This is a way for you to very quickly identify, okay, who's got some experience in this space? What do the metrics look like? Is there any concerns we have from a metrics perspective? And this can kind of help you filter down into who you may be interested in having brought on board to do work in this technology area. Okay, we have our law firm competitive analysis. Right here, we've got selected Oblon, #1 in patents for a number of years running. We see a breakdown of their CPC subclasses. There are a tremendous number of them, so there's a vast breadth of technology areas where they cover. Same thing on the USPTO Art Unit Group side. Let's say I'm Oblon and I want to see, okay, who else is patenting in organic chemistry, polymers, and compositions? I can click on this and see we're #1 in this space. Here are the other companies patenting in this area. I can benchmark my statistics to see, okay, hey, we're here at the average metrics for this, so we're not high or low, right? I can compare myself in all of these prosecution metrics to the other firms, identify potentially some areas where either we could be improving or areas where we have particular strengths that we can promote to our clients. So this gives you the ability to truly identify who else you're actually competing with in certain technology areas, right? Pictorial communication. I can select on this space here. I see Canon internally is preparing and filing their own patent applications heavily in this space. We're #2. Here are the other firms in this space, right? So very easily you can identify and benchmark your stats with the rest of the patent field by technology. Okay. Here's a law firm by technology look. So this gives Oblon here the ability to look at, okay, here's our USPTO Art Unit groups. Okay, we can see our metrics in each of these areas. This can help you to, again, understand how you're performing in particular technology areas. This can be used to, in RFPs, this can be used to share this information with your current clients or target clients. This can be used by law firm partners to understand how are we actually practicing in this space, right? What are we doing? Right, interview success rates are pretty high in these top areas. Here's some that are lower. Is that a concern? Is there something we should be paying attention to in these spaces or should be doing differently? So it gives a very a high-level view of what's happening in the practice for a partner to help make some changes or practice decisions. Okay, here's law firm by client. Right, so here now we can look at, okay, we have Oblon, we've got all of their patents. We can see the list of clients that they have patents obtained for, the ranking they are from a volume perspective with each of those clients, and again, what all those associated metrics are. Yeah, so right, this gives me the ability to understand who they're representing, what all the metrics are. If I'm a company that's potentially interested in hiring Oblon, I would want to look at this to determine, are they representing any competitors of mine? Should they just be completely eliminated because they're representing a competitor? Is there any concern here in the metrics, or are the metrics particularly good that would help me to make a decision on bringing them on? So there's a whole host of ways this information can be used by both law firms and companies to understand what a overall practice view looks like for a law firm. Okay, we also have examiner and art unit statistics. So we can select any year's worth of patents. We can see where they're being obtained, what the office action per patent rates are. We can select a given examiner and see what their specific statistics look like. So this gives you a high-level view of examiner and art unit statistics in all of these prosecution areas. Let's see here. The last few, and we're at 237 right now. The last couple of pages here are focused on maintenance fees. So now we're back to looking at things from a company perspective. This is something that came from one of our clients that said, hey, we'd be interested in looking at maintenance strategies for ourselves and for competitors to see, we want to be able to benchmark ourselves. What are we doing from a high level maintenance fee perspective, and what are our competitors doing? So on IBM, I can see here, I'm looking at the 4th year maintenance fees, and I can see here very quickly and easily that 56.5% of the 4th year maintenance fees that came due in 2020 were not paid. So they're allowing a large number, more than half of the 4th year maintenance fees to go expired. Right? We can see the same metrics here for 8th year and 12th year, and also the costs associated with each. Right? This gives me the ability to understand what our metrics are as a company, and also what potentially are others in our space doing, so we can see, should we adjust our maintenance fee strategies? We have had clients who have essentially been paying 100% of their maintenance fees at 4th year and 8th year, and then trying to save a little on the 12th year maintenance fees as they come due, only to realize that they were the only one in their entire technology area that was doing that. All their competitors were quite a bit more aggressive in cutting patents, and allowed them to understand, hey, we can give ourselves a little bit more budget by more aggressively targeting some patents in the 4th and 8th years. So this at the click of a button gives you the ability to visualize this for any company obtaining patents. We have a couple of pages here that kind of deep dive into very specific information, right? So here I'm looking at the 4th year maintenance fees. I can see that 56.5. I can click on that, and it might take a minute here to refresh, but it's going to give me the ability to see exactly what patents those were, what technology areas they were in, right? So I can see here that 615, more than 10% of them were here in this information retrieval. I can open this up a little bit and see some more detailed technology information. Okay, search customization. Okay, so here we can see which patents are being let go and what technologies these are in. This is information that's used by clients to understand what competitors are doing with their patent portfolio when it comes to maintenance. The last view here is kind of more of a forward-looking view. Here we're looking at maintenance fees coming due in the next 12 months, right? So here we can see in 2021, we have 2614 for IBM coming due. If I click on those and give it a second to refresh, I can see there's actually some of these maintenance fee payments here are actually going to expire shortly thereafter. So we have patent term extension coming on some of these cases. This is a clear and easy indication that we need to make sure we're not paying maintenance fees for patents that are going to expire shortly thereafter. And so clients are using this information to kind of visualize what's coming down the pike. What do we have coming from a maintenance fee perspective in the next 12 months? So I've done a lot of talking there. I've covered really, a broad brush of topics for both companies and law firms, how they can use this information to understand what's happening with their own portfolio, what's happening with competitors, what's happening with the law firms doing the work in the patent field. And I'm happy to stop talking now and take a look and see if we have any questions. Anybody have any questions?
Again, you can send them in either using the chat function or the Q&A function in the bottom panel of your screen.
So yeah, I mean, I'll give it another minute here to see if anybody else has any questions. I'd be happy to schedule some time for anybody who's attending the webinar for some more one-on-one time and deep dive into how you can use this tool in your practice. It's surprising to me how often I have clients coming to me every week with a question like, I have a feeling we could probably find this in the Patent 300 dashboard. Could you help me find out how? And we had one last week where we had a client trying to understand, okay, what's the pendency looking like for track 1 cases? Should we file a second track 1 if we have to RCE this? And using the Patent 300 data, we were able to pull out some data points through filtering track 1, looking at their technology areas to see, okay, in your space, with track 1 cases, here's what the pendency looks like. And we can look at examiner statistics and art unit statistics to see, okay, what does it typically look like for the next office action to come with an RCE. We marry those two together to give a practice recommendation to the client. So, it's a varied, different, there's a lot of different questions that can be answered through the use of these tools, and I'd be happy to schedule some one-on-one time with those that are interested. And I think that's it for me, Samantha.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody again for attending today's webinar. We really appreciate your time. If you are interested in learning more about any of our other tools, we do host monthly webinars for both analytics and automation. We'll also be starting up diversity webinars coming up this March. So you can find all the information regarding those at harrityllp.com/webinars. Again, if you think of any other questions down the line, feel free to email Rocky or myself. We also encourage you to connect with us on LinkedIn, Samantha Fisher and Rocky Berndsen, because we post and share all the cool updates going on at the firm. But thank you again for joining us today, and we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Short
Thanks,
week.
guys. Have a good one, everybody.